by the way, both of them landed a ton of uppercuts throughout the fight. That was great. It was a better fight even than the first one for sure. But it's ironic how now people want to pay attention to so many jabs, but yet then the body shot that is clearly affecting Golovkin throughout the fight. The big shots to the head, I guess they don't count. It was crazy to see Canelo stand right there and push forward, quote unquote, Mexican style, and to see Golovkin back up. Break this fight down, for the first chunk, the middle, the last. How did you see this fight playing out, buddy?
Well, I'm the person that had Golovkin losing the first fight very easily. Uh, the first fight, I felt he was very ineffective landing anything, even his jab. I felt that it was mostly picked off. Canelo used the ring a lot, and I just felt the rounds that he did win was the rounds where Canelo allowed it because of fatigue. So when it got down to it, Canelo was basically conserving energy and gave away a couple of rounds to Gennady Golovkin. And then he closed the championship rounds 10, 11, and 12 in the first fight. In this fight, it was entirely different. He went after Gennady Golovkin from the beginning because in my prediction video, I said he saw what I saw. That he didn't have to move around the ring from Gennady Golovkin. And once he realized, like, man, this guy's not that strong. And he's like, wow, all this stuff was all in my head because we didn't know. Everybody's like, this guy's a killer. So he was moving around the ring, being careful. And then all of a sudden, he's using up all this energy for no reason. So this time, he's saying, I can beat this guy standing right in front of him. I don't have to move around the ring. And that was the key. He stood right in front of Gennady Golovkin and made Golovkin move back because Golovkin is not a come forward fighter. He's a come forward fighter once you're in retreat. He likes to have you at the end of his punches. So when you're pulling back and getting caught with these shots at the end of Golovkin's shots, he's got the distance he wants. He's not an inside fighter. That's why he doesn't go inside and really beat a guy unless he knows the guy can't really hurt him. He respected Canelo's power. And because of that, he was going to take steps back. And Canelo was digging deep power shots, body shots. Whenever Gennady was trying to throw his jab, he would try to sweep a left hook to the body real quick. Those things were stinging him. They were hurting Gennady Golovkin. He was hitting him right on that liver. And in a couple of rounds, Gennady had to like take the foot off the gas and lean and like put all his weight on his front foot because those body shots was devastating. So in the earlier stages, it was playing out just like the first fight. Canelo Alvarez was seizing he was the ring general. He was applying the pressure. And this is the thing they said about the first fight. Oh, he ran, so how could you give him the round? He ran this time, he didn't. So he took away the only thing that they complained about. So in this fight, Gennady Golovkin had more opportunities. So he was gonna land, some shots, but it wasn't really like that in this fight. He threw a lot of jabs, and Canelo wasn't really slipping him. He was really like picking him off with the gloves, and some of them he was taking, but a lot of his jabs weren't that hard. They weren't. They weren't really like I'm just gonna, knock your head back. A lot of it was pawing jabs and flicking jabs and they had nothing on him. He was like using them as a rangefinder, trying to get Canelo to respond so that he can get the right hand home. But Canelo, what he would do is wait for that right hand to come, and he would try to slip a shot underneath. And Gennady, the body punches were so fierce, and they were just so hard. Whenever Canelo would throw them, he threw everything with intent. So when he threw to the body, Gennady Golovkin was keeping his right hand home. He was keeping that elbow tucked in, and that was keeping the right hand from being fired. There was a lot of opportunities Gennady Golovkin could have thrown the right hand, and he didn't. And this was early on. It wasn't a strategy. He wasn't going to throw it unless Canelo was at a distance. He knew he could not get hit and counter it with a body shot. If Canelo was too close, he was not going to throw the right hand. And that was the key for him. That's why he kept jumping backwards to try to get Canelo away from him so he could have that distance in between. And then he was uncomfortable. He was breathing hard early, and he had to get a second win. Canelo pushed himself too much in the 8th round. He felt Gennady Golovkin was getting ready to cave. Those first 8 rounds, Gennady Golovkin's maybe won 1 or 2 rounds, if that, in the first 8. It was that kind of fight. But there's a lot of rounds that were iffy, where Canelo started out early and Gennady finished the last 30 seconds. And a lot of people don't remember the first minute that happened in a fight. There was a lot of rounds like that where Triple G started out early, then Canelo would finish the last 30 seconds of the fight. And it to me, it came down to the same things that it did in the first fight. Who landed the more telling shots? Who landed the most shots that were clean, more telling, and there's so more for Canelo than there are for Gennady Golovkin. In the first fight, it was the same thing. He landed one meaningful right hand in the first fight. This fight, he landed some more right hands because the opportunity was there, but none of it hurt Canelo. None of it. A lot of people, like, if you listen to Jim Lampley, Canelo was about to die. Yeah.
Big right hand, that wasn't until late too,
Right, those were until late, and Canelo was slipping all the punches. He was still back on the attack and had Gennady Golovkin in retreat. So he did this fight. I thought it was obvious. I mean, I went back and scored it, I think 8-4. I watched it the second time. I scored it 8-4. But then another round, I think I could have gave to Golovkin. So 7-5 is probably the best thing to go. But I can't give 7 rounds to Gennady Golovkin for this fight. That's impossible. That, and then people saying he lost. It depends on what kind of show I guess you wanted to see. Because Golovkin's jab was somewhat effective, but not really. Even when he was throwing the jab, Canelo was dictating the pace of the fight. He was dictating how the fight was going to be fought. At no time in the fight did Gennady Golovkin dictate how the fight was going to be fought. He didn't seize no control. He was just reacting to whatever Canelo was doing. And just like the first fight, Canelo picked the pace. He's saying, this is when we're going to fight. This is when we're not going to fight. We're going to fight now. We're not going to fight now. So only when Canelo needed a breather and a blow, like after the 8th and 9th round, when it looked like he was about to stop Triple G because he had hurt him with a body shot and he was coming on. And I said, oh, man, he's coming on right now. And Canelo, Triple G was able to, stay crunched over because he was just throwing nothing but body shots after that. He was just body. And he was going a little too hard. He should have just saved it, but he thought this was it. The crowd was excited, and they thought, like, this is going to be the end of the fight. But he ended up punching himself out and got himself tired at the end of that 8th round. And everyone thought Gennady hit him with something. And, if you listen to Lampley, he would have a lot of people confused. You thought Canelo was dying and holding on, listening to Lamp. But
well, even the first round, Canelo lands a couple of really good shots, a couple to the body, and then he lands his jab. He's like, and Lampley's like, that's the first land that Canelo has landed. I'm like, what? He's actually landed more in this round than Golovkin. It was like matchless for Golovkin. Golovkin beat Canelo, then he was heavy Canelo, and Lampley was just stuck on Golovkin no matter what.
Yeah.
It was just another triple broadcast for them, man. And wow, if this is their biggest last fight, what a bad way to go out. A fun way as far as the action and stuff, but as far as their broadcast team. And I remember a couple of years ago, Lampley saying, the PBC will disperse and all these fighters are going to come back and yada, 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 and just burying Al. And look where HBO is now ever since 2013 when they let go of Al. But that's a whole different other show for a different time. We've had those conversations. But, yeah, I thought it was a tight fight. If someone scored it a draw, I'm okay with that. But I agree. I can't really find 7 rounds for Golovkin. Even 6-5-1 I was okay with. That's kind of my scorecard.
Right.
But yeah, anything else on the actual fight that you want to talk about?
Yeah, because the thing is,
the press row,
Well, yeah, the press roll, that's their press roll. These are the type of fights where you need somebody who has professional skills. It's easy to score a fight when it's a whitewash or you got a guy coming forward. This took actual judging to actually make this call. You got to actually. These are the type of close type of fights, and the reason why these guys are professional judges and that they're in that ring. These are the type of things they have to go over and know how to say, okay, this is a telling shot. We counting body punches here. If you look at the fight, who had the most complete fight? Canelo Alvarez. When they were trying to show the statistics on HBO, did you notice that they did not show the body punches? They didn't show that statistic at all because they knew it was so lopsided for Canelo Alvarez. It wasn't even funny. It was like 40 something to like 6 and body punches. So they didn't want to show that statistic when they were trying to show Gennady Golovkin. He once again lands the most punches in the fight, but they're not talking about Canelo had a higher percentage in every category over Gennady Golovkin. He didn't throw more. I'm like he threw more, and then he landed a high number, but his percentage is low because he missed a lot. Canelo threw less and landed more. So he had a higher percentage. He had a higher percentage in every category. Power punches, even the jabs. He had a higher jab percentage than Gennady Golovkin. He had a higher percentage in every category. And that is how if you wanted to judge a fight, that's what you do. It's not about the quantity. It's what are you doing with the quality amount of punches. Most of them are power punching or pushing jabs and caught with the glove. They're not even scoring punches. So the one you would give the guy who's coming forward, landing the most telling shots, going upstairs and downstairs, he's the one that's dictating the fight and making the fight. See, this thing reminds me of Kovalev. Triple G know he lost the fight. He know he lost both fights. You can't fool me. This guy, I mean, he had a better time, I think, this time around, and it was more closer this time because it was fought in a style that best fit him. He didn't have to think. Canelo didn't make him have to search and reach out to try to find him and use angles. He was right there. So he got the fight he wanted, and he still wasn't better than Canelo at it. It showed how limited he actually is. And I agree with Andre Ward. He's been broken down. Gennady Golovkin is broken right now. If he fought Danny Jacobs again, Danny Jacobs might stop him. I don't think he can get in there with a young bull anymore on a big stage.
Danny would be more aggressive too this time, just like Canelo. Like you said.
Yeah, the fear is gone. The fear is gone. They know what this guy has. They know what he does. They know what he brings. They know how limited he is. He's not going to throw body punches. So you don't have to worry about that. He's not. He's a just come forward fighter. He still fights in the Euro style. He never progressed from being an amateur. He fights the same way. So what did Abel Sanchez actually bring into the table? He brought nothing to the table. And that's why I'm like, well, he's fighting the same way he did as an amateur. So what are you doing really helping him? Nothing. You help navigate him and give him a gym to train at. That's about it. And see, when these fighters are not diverse, and I give Kovalev that, Kovalev is way more diverse than Gennady Golovkin. But with Kovalev, he runs out of gas after 6, 7 rounds, and then he's subject to being knocked out now because he's been rocked. He's been rocked, and the Shalimba fight was very telling, the one he had in Russia. When Shalimba was controlling him and came back in that fight with the jab, just hitting him with the jab, and he ran out of gas. And he tried to say, oh, well, I was in Russia. I had a lot on my mind. And I knew. And that's why when I picked this upset, and I picked he would get knocked out, I said 9 rounds, but I knew I had that fight right. And they were like, you picked the upset, Alvarez. And I told everybody to bet it. Alvarez knocked him out, and I was like, I told you. Kovalev cannot deal with someone his size, that big, with boxing ability. When that guy lands, when he gets tired, it's over. I knew it. He was
That
done.
body too. Those body shots.
Yeah, body shots. He's a big guy.
Where do they go?
So right now,
HBO.
HBO is in a. Right now, they don't have Golovkin. They don't have Canelo. And right now, it's a bad thing with Canelo and HBO. So I don't know if they're ever coming back to the table again. HBO want to try to kiss up to Canelo now, and now they want to try to make a fight with him and have him come back. But that's going to take a lot of negotiating, because I don't think Golden Boy wants to part with HBO anymore, partner with him, because of the way they were treated for Gennady Golovkin and all the other fights that they had there. Plus, they're not getting a lot of dates. So we'll see where it goes. But right now, they're looking at more the television angle. They're going to start taking interviews about seeing what's going on with these television deals. And Oscar is going to do some interviews there, because naturally they would love HBO to say, we're going to feature Canelo. We're going to take a lot of his fights. We're going to do this and we're going to do that.
Right.
But see, Golden Boy needs Canelo to fight 2 fights a year. That's the deal. That's the thing with Canelo. Canelo's supposed to fight 2 times a year. They're supposed to fight in May. He's supposed to fight in September. That's what Golden Boy have, and that's what they had in the contract, because that's their bottom line. Now, the bigger problem they got is Canelo's eye. You got a guy finna come right back in the ring in 2 months and fight David Lemieux. That's a tough fight. I mean, David Lemieux's a big guy, but this guy just coming off a nasty cut over his left eye. Canelo, that cut's not going to be healed all the way in 2 months for them to have a fight in December. And then I'm like, you got
a physical fight in general. Anytime that many punches are thrown at you, it's a physical fight. Just to go through a fight like that, even if you won.
Exactly. And Golden Boy is going to want to charge for that fight. If they get a television deal, they want to do an ESPN pay or a Golden Boy pay deal. They're going to have some type of form of pay-per-view where they put the fight out themselves. If HBO don't want to partner and do this fight, which I think HBO would do a one-fight partnering if they don't already owe them a fight with HBO. Because I don't know if they owe
them. They owe him a normal. It sounds like Canelo owes them a normal HBO fight. That's what it sounds like. And right now, Canelo on December 15th has the MGM Grand and the MSG, Madison Square Garden, on reserve just in case. That's what we're going.
Yeah, and I don't know if the MGM Grand is going to do 2 events, because the MGM Grand is ready to, at the T-Mobile Arena, they're ready to host the Manny Pacquiao Mayweather 2 fight. So they're right now in negotiations right now with that, as far as the venue, and other people want to have it. Like in Tokyo, the people there want to pay for it to have a fight in Japan, and having U.S. judges go out there and judge a fight that's in Tokyo, Japan. Now, they're trying to work on having that there, because they don't want inexperienced judges. Well, Mayweather, wouldn't want that. So they would want the commissions to make sure that their judges can do international fights and things of that nature. And they're looking into that avenue. And all of this is just leverage so that the T-Mobile, they're going to pay out and pay astronomically, because that's where they want to be anyway. And the same thing with Golden Boy. They're going to eventually want to be with HBO, but with more control this time, because they felt like they didn't have a lot of respect. They were basically shunned for Top Rank, and then Top Rank left. And just like, look, they don't understand boxing over there, and it's not a priority. That's why Bob's like, we're out. We're going to take this ESPN deal because it's not making sense here, and it's time to go. And that was just it. It wasn't making any sense. And it's like, we're the promoters. We know what's best, but what you guys are talking about don't make any sense. So if you're not making any sense, why are we sticking around? Which is the best thing I ever heard. I'm like, that's the best news I ever heard, because that's right. Why would you stick around? So now Oscar was left over there, and they were like, well, we got Oscar. And then Oscar's like, well, but you treated us like trash. We couldn't get any dates. We couldn't get any
Yeah.
funds. We couldn't get any venues. We couldn't get no promotions. We were just thrown out there at any given time you felt like it was a good idea to have us there. So naturally, they weren't too happy about it. And I understood it. I said, you know what? I understand what he's saying. Because Oscar's like, look, I don't know if this is a good thing. But now things are different. And the reason why things are different now is because, yeah, because the things are different now is because now they're the only ones there. They're the only ones over there. So now that they're right, they got main events that they're gonna do with Kathy, with Kovalev. They're gonna stick it out with Kovalev, but right, Bivol and all the Europeans and that they want. They're gonna renegotiate a deal with Triple G. They're gonna keep him because his contract is up. But how many fights he got left? 2, 1, 2, and then he's headed for retirement.
You wonder how many more fights Golovkin have.
Yeah.
What about that 90-minute break? What about that hour-plus break?
It was ridiculous. It was.
Where were you watching the fight, and what the hell did you do during that time?
Oh well, fortunately for me, I went to Netflix. I was at home. I'm glad I wasn't out at the movie theater, because then I would have just walked into another movie and watched the film while I had all that time. But that is ridiculous to have that kind of break.
I can't believe
that was just a terrible organized undercard for the fights. It was really organized. Everything was a slaughter. Meningo, that guy had no business being in the ring with him. I was like, we were just hoping that he survived. I'm like, man, I hope this guy's okay. He seems like he's getting killed in here. So watching him get his head knocked off was like, oh my God. I was like, watching that was like a revelation. He seemed like he was way out of his element. So I'm like, okay, well, we're seeing this, and this isn't looking good. So, you know what I think? I'm like, I think that
was crazy, dude.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this, and I'm like, you know what I think?
Luckily, there was a bar. Luckily, there was a bar at the movie theater, because I went to a movie theater opposite, and there was a bar that had college football on. So me and a couple of my buddies, we sat there, didn't watch college football, and I just kept looking at Twitter to make sure they haven't started.
Right, they didn't start the fight. They just kept replaying the same clips over and over again, and I was like, this is crazy. So I was watching Netflix, and we're watching almost a whole movie, and I'm like, whoa, let me go back and see what's going on with the fight. They were still just talking about the hand wraps again. I'm like, my goodness, it's been over an hour. But that they gotta fix that. See, they're not prepared. If there's knockouts early in the fight, which this fights that they set up were all set up to be stoppages. I'm like, my goodness. All of these fights were set up to go 5, 6 rounds. If that. So you didn't, I'm like, you should have known to stack more fights on the card. Or at least they could have did was show some fights that was there earlier. You got to have those on replay for when there's a delay.
They could have shown a classic fight. They could have shown Sugar Ray Mosley and Oscar De La Hoya. Who gives a shit? Just something. Just show us something, man.
Right, an hour and a half. If you got all this dead time, I would have shown something. You got to have something in place. You say, look, this fight here should go maybe 5, 6 rounds. If so, we got clips that we could show, or we could show this fight. It was quick. We'll show the Kirkland fight. We could show this fight. These fights were like 1, 2 rounds. We'll show a Triple G fight, and we'll show this fight here, and we'll just re-narrate it what had happened, and break it down. Anything to kill time. But to keep going over the same thing over and over again for an hour and a half, I'm like, that was way too much talk. It was horrible.
I can't remember. I mean, at least the longest break that I remember was the Fan Man.
Yeah, Fan Man. Yep.
At least you have a good excuse for that, because, just the fact that happened was enough of mean?
Right, Fan Man come settling down. They were ready to just take his head off. That was all they knew. Fan Man had to go.
Yeah, right.
they were bashing his head in with the cell phone. That guy, he always had that walkie-talkie. And he was known for bashing people's head in. He did it to what's his name with Riddick Bowe and what's his name? The guy kept hitting him below the belt. Yeah, he started whacking him up the head, side of the head with that walkie-talkie. He was known for it, and it seemed to always happen in a Riddick Bowe fight. But my goodness.
Man.
Yeah, so that's what that is. And then now the Mayweather fight news. I just hung out with Floyd Mayweather, what, 3 weeks ago when he was here? Me and Floyd was just hanging out, and we all in the videos, and everybody's taking pictures of us. And they're like, dude, that was you and Floyd in the club. I'm like, yeah, we had a great time that night. So I'm like, I'm hanging out with Floyd just what, 3 weeks ago. It really might be, it's been 4, but it seemed like 3 weeks ago. We're all hanging out here in Chicago. We're at the club. He's throwing like $20,000 in the air. He's standing right next to me. We're in the video and we're talking boxing. Because Leonard and Hagler was on this big screen up there. So me and him is watching that fight.
Right.
And we're having a discussion about this fight. He's like, I've only seen this fight like maybe once. He's like, I don't really remember any of it. I'm giving him all updates. And I was like, you probably would have beat Leonard, though. He was like, not now. But he was like, how old was he? About like 30? He was young. He's still young, though. He came back 5, but Leonard was still young. He was like, if I was younger, I would have got him, but not now. But yeah, if I was younger, I would have got him. So he's very aware that his body is not the same. He's completely aware that his body isn't the same anymore. Like he's aware there's things I can't do anymore. He doesn't have that delusion. So he knows I just know how to win. I know how to win fights. But he's aware there's certain things physically he just can't do anymore. And that's why when he told me, I was like, so you gonna be? He's like, no, man, I'm done. I'm not fighting anymore. And he seemed like he was 100% adamant that he wasn't, like very believable that he was done. Then all of a sudden, I'm fighting in December. What? So he knew he was fighting.
It's one thing to say we should fight. It's another thing to say you're fighting in December. It's like December.
Yeah, and I knew it was real. And then I called. Exactly. I called to find out when he was fighting Manny Pacquiao. They was like Manny Pacquiao, and they were in Tokyo. And Sean had just called me the day before, and he's actually in contact with the guy that does the videos and everything for PBC. He does all those videos you see. Him and Sean, they talk video stuff all day, and that's just like the greatest thing in the world for him. Because I don't know what he's talking about when they talk about cords and jacks and film and cameras. I'm like, y'all knock yourselves out. But anyway, this guy told him, he's like, man, I want to see, PBC instead of just doing fights with just PBC. I want to see them do fights with like Top Rank and, so we can see Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. And the guy was like, we're going to have something like that happen real soon, but I can't say anything, but you'll find out very soon. But you're kind of in the right department. And what he was meaning was this fight here, this rematch. He's like, there's a big fight coming up. And the very next day, Floyd Mayweather's in Tokyo talking about this fight. Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. So when I called to to find out more about the situation, I find out that Floyd is not just coming back for this one fight. He's going to fight in May. And the person he's thinking about fighting, the person he's thinking of fighting is Canelo.
I knew it.
In May.
You saw that middleweight title, dog. You saw that middleweight title. It was like, oh shit, I can go get a middleweight title now.
Yep, that'll be the only thing that he has not accomplished is winning a middleweight championship. That's the only title that would have kept him He'll have 6 weight classes: middleweight, junior middleweight, welterweight, junior welterweight, lightweight. He'll have it all. That's the record. If he can win the, if
Those
he,
are 2 big money fights too, dude.
oh yeah, those
Joe
are
Mack made a
massive.
bunch of money with Pacquiao, and then now Canelo. Oh my God! Because you know people will believe he'll get beat for sure at 160 by Canelo now. You know.
Right. And now Golovkin, HBO wants them to fight Golovkin in May. So now they gotta, do you fight Mayweather or do you fight Triple G again? And I think that's done. I don't think they fight anymore. I really don't. I think that's done. I think Canelo fights David Lemieux and he'll beat David Lemieux. Uh, and after he beats David Lemieux, they'll basically, do the fight and start promoting it for May. And here's the thing: Canelo's in his prime. He's improved a lot since the first time he fought Floyd.
For sure.
So it's not a slam dunk. I am not. Floyd is in his 40s now. He's not the same, but it was the sharpest I had seen him.
That's 2 camps not to get hurt in too.
Yeah.
I mean, dang.
You and Canelo both fighting in December. Then you guys turn around and fight each other in May. That's massive.
He's not done yet, huh? Not done yet.
Yep. So the thing is for that to happen and Floyd to go get the middleweight championship, the only title that he hasn't gotten because he was too small, that would say something. But for him to keep saying, "Oh, I'm done. This is my last fight. I promised Al I'm not coming back." Everybody's like, "Well, he lost $80 million in gambling." Now that's the newest rumor out. Floyd lost $80 million gambling. I'm like, he just made over 300 some million dollars. So if he lost 80 million gambling, which I seriously doubt, Floyd don't bet like that. Like if he lose money, it's not gonna be I lost $80 million. Right. It would never, he would never put like, oh, here's $1 million on this. Floyd will put 10,000 here. He might bet 100,000 in total for like the week. Like he'll bet a college football game. He might put 100,000, depending on if it's one big game. He's not gonna bet $80 million in gambling. Yeah, I can see if you said he's done that over a period of like 20 years. Floyd is not gonna spend no $80 million in gambling. He don't gamble like that. His gamble is not like that at all. He's not gonna put a $500,000 bet down.
He even said years ago the biggest loss he ever took was $1 million. So.
Right, exactly. He would never lose no $80 million gambling. I was like, well, that's not true. I've seen this guy gamble, and the only way he would even put a big marker down, he would be betting the favorite. He wouldn't bet on the long shot. If he'll like, okay, I'll put down 500,000 on this bet. I'll win about 600, 700. So I'll make 100 or some $1,000. So he's got the money to bet to show. Like for us, it wouldn't be probably worth it but he could put up 500,000 and win 100,000 because he'll bet the favorite. No, they're gonna cover. And only a miracle would make sure he would lose that 500,000. It would take a massive upset in order for him to lose that 500,000. So no.
Well, we'll see, man. It sounds like it might be as early as next week that they get to announce them, man. Oh boy.
Yeah, I was supposed to talk to Bob Arum today. I'm gonna try to call him tomorrow. And Sean Simpson, he's fighting on the Eddie Hearn card here in Chicago. So he wanted to be on the show. And yeah, so he's fighting on the 6th. So I'm gonna have him call you and give you his information again so you can keep up with him. I did an article on him. It's on Facebook about the whole fight and everything. Okay. So so he's on the Worlds Collide. I don't even know how to pronounce that. What is it? Dazin? Or Eddie Hearn's Dazin? D-A-Z.
Like he's in the zone. The zone.
The Zone? Oh my God! I'm like,
Yeah,
what was
it's
wrong with
it's
Matchroom?
German, so
Yeah, I'm like the Zone. I'm like, what is this? I'm like Dazzin. They was like, no, it's the Zone, man. I'm
that's what
like,
it looks like.
yeah, and I'm like, you couldn't come up with nothing better than this. It's like you came up with this on the fly. You
So
couldn't
speaking
call it
of the zone,
Matchroom.
yeah, right. The zone. Speaking of the zone, they're launching their their big fight this weekend. Anthony Joshua and Alexander Povetkin. Now, obviously, Povetkin is not maybe the same guy we saw him in the ring several years ago. We really don't know where he's at PED wise. I know that they've been not testing him the last couple of months and whatnot, and I know he had to pass a bunch of stuff from the WBC and whatnot, but how do you see this fight breaking down? It's kind of a tough one to break down in a sense because you just don't know what to expect from Povetkin. And, to be fair, Joshua's lost a little bit of weight himself. How do you see this one breaking down this weekend, man?
Well, I think Anthony Joshua is going to this fight to go about 6, 7 rounds before Povetkin gets out of gas and just totally annihilated. Uh, Anthony Joshua is going to just take his time. He's being very cautious early. That's the thing about Joshua. I think he's too cautious at times. He makes a easy fight hard by him being super cautious, and he's going to be so cautious early on. He's going to try to take shots only when he can, land a jab. Hopefully, he hurts Povetkin. That's what he's going to hope. But early on, he knows Povetkin's only chance to get to him is to hurt him. And he's been dropped a lot. So when you've been dropped like twice or hurt and buzzed in the ring a couple of times, you're going to be weary of a guy who's a power puncher coming in the ring. That's why I know he's really scared of Wilder. He knows that Wilder cracks me, I'm in trouble. It's not gonna be like when Klitschko hit me. Klitschko hit him right on the button and dropped him. It was amazing he got up. And I'm like, if Klitschko was younger, look out. And he just set you up for that right hand. He was just basically setting you up for the right hand the entire fight. And you didn't know how to do it. He
Yeah,
was he was
for sure.
basically setting you up to land a big something hard on you. And he was doing it the whole fight. He had landed a couple and he was shaking them off. And then sure enough, he masked it and real good and dropped him with a straight right hand. Povetkin throws just like that. He masks his punches a little bit and try to blind you with the glove, and then here comes the punch right behind it. Bang! And tries to get your attention and stun you, then get close enough to do some damage. But other than that, he's got to get through that jab of Joshua. Joshua's going to work the jab and try to keep him at bay and keep a steady jab out there on him. And I think about the later rounds, by him doing this testing, arms are going to start to get a little low. Those punches by Joshua start getting to him, and Povetkin will start to break down. So I see this fight probably going 6 rounds before they probably either stop it, he get cut, and just get worked out by that jab. Jab over the right hand. Povetkin will be asleep probably in like round 6 or 7, but it'll be a good workout for Joshua. That's what I think for that fight. It'll be a good workout for him. Now, what do you think about this David Benavidez, who's taking this year-round VADA testing, to show he's a clean athlete, testing positive for cocaine?
Well, I mean, I told you I'm a clean athlete. I didn't test for PED. Yeah, I just saw that.
So
Just
I didn't
saw that.
know.
And
I
it
didn't
sounds
know you
like
couldn't get due. I
he's
didn't know that counted. I thought
right.
like
Well,
you
it
had to
sounds
be
like that he's going to get he's only going to be subject to a fine because he didn't have a fight scheduled, so
right.
it wasn't during a quote unquote camp. So it sounds like it's just going to be a big fat fine and then move on. That's what I'd assume anyway, but that's the way the article on BoxingScene.com made it sound, but maybe he's trying to lose weight, you know?
I don't think that was the case. I think he was having some fun.
Right. Yeah, like a whole lot of summer fun.
Right, and everybody's looking at the photos. I'm like, if you look at the photos and you see David Benavidez, you could see a lot of coke usage. I'm like, yeah, I can see him doing some line. It's like everybody's. It's like when they say something about you, like he got caught drunk in the bar. You take a look at it, like, yeah, I can see him getting drunk in the bar. It's like once that's out and people look at you again, it becomes the narrative of what they see. So now they look at him in a cokehead. You know, you got to go to rehab. He's like, wait a minute. It becomes the narrative. Like, if you look at Tank and Adrian Broner, you think drunk. And you look at Tank, I'm like, whoever he fights next, I'm like, geez, put some money down. He's so out of shape right now. I'm like,
oh God, I mean that guy, he's like the Pillsbury Doughboy, dude.
right. And I'm like, they doing a smart thing with his career. Abner's a safer fighter for him. He's really small. He can hit hard a little bit, but Abner's not that active. He's not that active with his jab, and it's a good fight for Tank. Tank can get in and be powerful and might have a big knockout out of it. But depends on what Tank shows up. Yeah, because Abner could pull it out.
So if he comes in this one, you know, who knows? Abner, I mean, it's a good name for him, but he's got to watch out with that, just in general. But yeah, I mean, coming off the Labor Day weekend, you know, Benavidez has probably had a long Labor Day weekend, and you know, decided to do a little coke. You know what I mean? And live it up a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, he lived it up all right.
Wanted to get it out of his system.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, man, he must didn't know they were coming to something that day.
Right.
Because I'm like,
yeah, that doesn't stage your system.
Like, right, it's like a couple days, and it's probably out your system. But my goodness, I'm not, you know, unless they busted in there, they making it sound as if like they kicked in there and he had like the Scarface table or something. Like they caught him with enough to distribute. You messing with David Benavidez. You messing with the man. Okay, well, hey, I'm just doing a little cocaine. I'll pay a couple of fines, no big deal. Pay a big fine, no big deal. It was like, well, we can't convince a judge we found it in a taxi cab. That's one of my favorite scenes from Scarface. Is when right. Yeah, when he's talking to that lawyer, that's one of my favorite scenes out of Scarface. When he's talking to that high-priced lawyer he got, he's like, look, I am the best at finding that reasonable doubt. But when you on video counting $1 million some dollars in cash, it's hard to convince a grand jury that you found it in a taxi cab. Oh man, that is a. He's like, and I'm the best at finding that reasonable doubt, but it is hard when you're on film to convince a grand jury that you found $1 million too in a taxi cab. Oh man, that is a classic line. And that's the thing about that movie.
But you got anything else for us at all?
I don't know. We got a lot of good juicy bits out. Oh yeah, Lomachenko's recovery is going well. He's got he was supposed to be fighting in December too. But they might move it to November.
December 8th.
Yeah, he's supposed to fight in December 8th, but they.
December 8th at the Madison Square Garden, at the Hulu Garden, it sounds like they're at the theater.
Yeah. And
November
I
8th on
thought they were going to
ESPN.
probably have the movie. That's why I'm going to talk to Bob now with the Mayweather event going on. Looks like it's going to get finalized on that day.
Right.
So who knows? It might just keep it anyway. So he needs to get back in action. But yeah, he's doing quite well. Terrence Crawford, he's getting ready. He got that big deal, the big contract he signed. And everyone's seeing now that, hey, this is, boxing isn't dead. We thought boxing was dead. Dead and gone. Now everybody's got these major television deals. And you see UFC, they need this fight with Conor McGregor. And this is exactly who they were going to fight. I told them that. I was like, they can't afford to put Conor in the ring with anybody else because they got to make money. They can't afford to put Conor in a tune-up. He's got to go right at Khabib because they got to pay so much money just to have Conor McGregor. So to make their money back, they got to put him in a big fight. They can't put him in the tune-up. That would be the dumbest thing they could ever do. They're not gonna make money off that. And you got to pay Conor through the nose. You got to give them what they want, and that could be. And that's why I said, I don't care what anybody say. Dana White, he knew all about the Conor McGregor bus incident. He knew. He knew. It just got out of hand. It got out of hand, but it was an event that he was aware that they had the cameras back there recording because you're using that as promotion for your fight. Why would you use a criminal video tape to be on display for the fight? And then it happened in New York City, and all he got was a fine after injuring two fighters.
UFC didn't get him in trouble at all. That was like, at least fake it. At least kind of say you're going to get him in trouble. But he was like, well, the law did a bunch. So it's like, nah, they didn't actually. He just had a lawyer. That's all that.
Right. Then you do 4 interviews talking about, we're going to do like 3-4 interviews talking about this incident, the bus incident. So instead of talking about the fight and actual fighters who's going to be actually on the card, fighters couldn't fight on the card. Some of them got hurt. Rose actually fought, and she lost. But that incident could be blamed for that. Conor was supposed to pay those guys a sum of money behind closed doors. One guy got his retina cut by glass. So that's and it got out of hand. And now you are the manager. I've never seen that. The president of the company is also the manager of Conor McGregor. I'm like, talk about a conflict of interest. I'm like, yeah, it's a bad mix. And with Dana White, it always is, and that's why they sold the company, because they have nothing but sideshow freaks. They went and got CM Punk, brought him in. CM Punk is a wrestler, just like Brock. They big, they look great. He's puffed up on roids. And when they took the roids away, you saw what happened. He was just as helpless as a kid in there. And I'm like, these guys fight for a living. You have talent, you just have to promote it. But he doesn't want to. If Dana White takes things personally, he don't like certain fighters who are aware of what their worth are, and they should be getting this or they should be getting advertisement, and they're great fighters, and you come out and bash them because they didn't fight the way you wanted them to fight. Oh, I don't think he's gonna get another fight fighting like that. I mean, like, well, he was going for the knockout. The guy had like 7 knockouts in a row, but then he got injured in the fight, and he had to do what he had to do to win the fight because he was injured. So, and you want to talk about this guy like a dog? Of course they're not going to like you. And finally he got Stipe to lose because that's all he wanted was Stipe to lose a fight. For some reason, he don't like him, and Stipe cannot stand Dana White. So I mean, it's a problematic situation because Dana wants to control the outcomes. He wants to have who he wants to win in his fashion, and the guy doesn't realize that he had an idea, and his idea went to the top. He just didn't know how to manage it because he doesn't know how to manage himself. This guy divorced. because he's sleeping with his wife's best friend. He's sleeping with every girl that's in the ring card girls. You got him running in and out of his house. He's mixing business with pleasure. He's sleeping with Ronda Rousey, messed around with her. That's why Brandon Schwab don't like him. None of the announcers get along with him except for Joe Rogan. It's telling. And then the whole thing is falling apart because they don't know how to market talent. And they bring in sideshow pieces that Sage Northcutt and Paige Van Zandt, and you see what happened. They look like Baywatch models. So I'm like, if they were doing a Baywatch movie, yeah, they would be great. But putting them in the ring, right, putting them in the ring, they're gonna get killed. And sure enough, Sage Northcutt, he's a taekwondo guy. He can throw some pretty kicks. He's all in shape. They putting him all on the cover of the fight. Sage Northcutt. I'm like, what happens when he fights a real fight? And we saw what happened.
Yeah.
Paige Van Zandt, she's so pretty. Yeah, Paige this, her followers. Oh, she's so gorgeous. All we gotta do is put her on the card, right? She loses. Then she loses again. Then she loses again. What what more are you gonna learn here? That they're fighters, real fighters that you have that you can promote if you actually did your job. That's the problem with the UFC. And that's why they're crumbling. Because no one knows who's the champions. No one knows who got any belts. No one knows anything. Conor McGregor was the sideshow who fought, didn't defend a single title. Didn't defend it at all. Never defended a title. So I'm like, well, he vacated every belt he got. Never defended the title in the UFC. Now, what kind of champion is that? Not once has he ever defended a title, Chris. That just shows you right there the dismantling of this whole thing. He's just been a sideshow freak but he was never. They kept him away from guys that could really take him to the ground and grapple him. They put him in there with guys who could strike a little bit. They knew how to match Conor up. Now I give Conor that. Conor, he was good at what he's doing is striking in the UFC and putting on some performances that they love, like the Aldo performance. That just sent them through the roof. Now he's been exposed because one, he can't make that weight no more. And I knew that was gonna happen. I'm like, well, he's too big for the weight class he's in. He's fighting all these little guys. When he starts to balloon up, all this drinking and party, he ain't gonna be able to cut that down to get to those weight classes no more. He's got to go up to his natural weight, and it's just like boxing. Once you get into you can't make that weight, you're gonna get exposed by guys who are your natural size, who you can't get away with all that stuff you've been doing. Now you got to actually fight, and we're gonna have to see. And that's why I think Khabib is gonna really do some damage here. In like round 2 or 3, he's gonna get Conor on his back, and that's gonna be the fight. Conor's gonna try to box him and stay away and use the angles, and he'll do good for the first round and a half. And then once Khabib gets him on the ground, the fight's over. It's over.
Well, we'll definitely talk about that fight week for sure. But I appreciate you calling in, man.
All right, buddy.
Good to hear you on the show.
Yes, I'm glad to be back. I'm feeling good. I feel reborn.
Nice, man. Well, you enjoy yourself this weekend, and we'll talk soon, buddy.
All right.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye. And that's Rope-A-Dope Radio. To listen to the Race to the Rope-A-Dope Radio show, tune in to Blog Talk Radio. Matter of fact, I'm going to have the link in the description box here. You can click the link and listen to the show. I might have to wait to the video load, and put it in the comment section. But any which way it goes, you're going to have the full show so you guys can listen to it. It's been great talking boxing for a whole hour straight. You guys got a lot of information, and I'm out.